Hello friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. I am Jenny and today I am going to show you how you can transplant, move perennials in the fall. Of course, we are in North Carolina, a zone 7B, and we are in the middle of November already. It is crazy, but here we are. Now, when you move your perennials is really going to depend on where you are in the country, in the world. What is your climate like? So for us, in North Carolina, mid-November is okay because we are still having extremely mild temperatures. Today is going to be close to 80. We are not going to experience cold, hard winter days until probably like really the end of December into January. Yes, the temperature will dip down on certain nights, but we're not going to have consistently cold, hard nights for quite a while. So I still have plenty of time to either be planting shrubs and trees or perennials, moving them. The whole idea is that you want to make sure that your root system of your plants have plenty of times to get established before really the harsh winter hits. Now, if you are in parts of the country or the world where you do have really harsh winters and your ground freezes really deep, then you're going to want to do this earlier in the season. So this is where being a student of your own garden comes in, and you've got to kind of get an idea of when is that last time of the year that I can move things. With that being said, the process is still the same. What I'm going to be moving today, obviously we are here and the beds surrounding the patio. So right behind me, I have got 5 guaras that I am going to move. Remember when I planted these this late spring, early summer, I told you that this was probably going to be a temporary placement for those guaras. Guaras for us are perennials. I want them here, but where they are right now, that is where my new David Austin roses are going to come in the spring. So what I'm going to do is dig them up and move them about 4 feet forward. That's it. So instead of being in the back of the bed, they're now going to be in the front of the bed along the edge of the sidewalk, the path. Now, let me give you a little bit of stats on these plants because I know that you're going to be asking. Yes, I have my phone because I don't have the tag with me, so I'm using Proven Winner's website to look at this. These are the ones, are Stratosphere Pink Picotee Guaras. They are a full sun plant. They're going to be 12 inches to 2 feet tall by 8 inches to 12 inches wide. Now, we have found in the South that things grow a little bigger around here because we have such an extended growing season, and you can see that these are great sized plants. I planted them as a grande container and now they are a nice large plant. I believe they were grandes. You know what? Now that I think about it, they may have been gallon size when I planted. We'll look back on the video. It'll be obvious when I planted them. But why do we love guaras? Because they are heat tolerant, drought tolerant, they attract butterflies and your pollinators. Super, super easy. They are hardy in zones 6 to 11B. So there's a nice long range of growing zones that they will be perennials for you. Easy. Bugs didn't like them. I didn't have an issue with budworms because I had budworms for the first time this year. They don't like them. Japanese beetles don't like them. Extremely easy. So what we're going to do is rearrange the cameras, and then I'm just going to show you how easy it is to transplant or move perennials. Before I start digging my holes, I want to show you the tools and supplies that I am going to use for this job. Remember that this is basically kind of a brand new bed for us, and the soil is not very good. So I want to amend this soil so that these plants have the best start possible. So what I am using is right here in the back of the Polaris. Of course, we will use our Biotone starter fertilizer. Remember, Biotone is specifically for healthy root growth. It is not for top foliage growth or flower production. If you have happy roots, you have a happy plant. So we've got that. Then, of course, I have got my shovel and mulch rake. The Ultra Outdoor Planting Mix is fantastic for us with clay soil because it has not only great compost and all the wonderful nutrients, but it has aged pine bark fines, which really will help us bring some aeration to our compacted soil, which is what we so desperately need. And then I have some buckets of mulch. Jerry was working, so I just grabbed a couple of buckets, filled them up with some mulch, and we'll use that to top dress once we're all done. So I'm gonna get all my supplies over here, and then we'll start digging some holes. All right, so this is gonna be really simple. Simple, yet there's a couple precautions that I have to make in this bed. One, I don't know if you can tell, we never buried our landscape lighting cords, which honestly, which I like, because when I'm now in a situation like this, I know exactly where my wires are. And we never bury them in the soil, we just kind of tuck them under the mulch so that they become invisible. Exactly for cases like this, because if it was buried in the soil, I would not remember where they are, and I would most likely chop them with a shovel or the auger. So I'm simply gonna come through and just move them out of the way, because there is one that runs the whole length right here, and that's exactly where I'm gonna be digging. So I want to know where this guy is. So I am going to pull it on this side, and then once the project's all done, then I can come back and rebury it. Now, because this soil is less than desirable, shall we say, I am going to go ahead and open up my bags of the outdoor planting mix, and I'm going to add it straight on top of this mulch. Now, this mulch is not super thick, because remember, I had annuals in here, I pulled them out, so forth and so on. So adding the mulch when I dig up and aug my holes will actually be a really good thing. So I'm just gonna take these 3 bags and kind of spread them out where I'm gonna be planting these guaras. We do love this black gold planting mix because, like I said, it has that aged pine bark fines in it, plus the compost, plus lots of other great sources that are fantastic to feed your soil. Because remember, your soil is like your best ally in your garden. So we want to feed our soil, amend our soil, and make it as best that we possibly can. If that means that you amend it once a year or when you're planting, then that is a wonderful thing. So we definitely want to work with our soil and make it the richest, healthiest soil we possibly can, because if you have happy soil, you're gonna have happy plants. I've got that laid out. I'm just gonna take my power planter auger and I'm gonna aug my holes. I'm gonna go ahead and completely prep my holes before I dig up my guaras. That's just a great little tip. Get the holes prepared, then put the plants in them. I am gonna have to be careful because we do have an irrigation line running in that area, so I'm gonna be very careful. I do have markers that kind of give me an idea of where it is. So if you look like I am hunting and pecking around there, I am making sure that I don't find the irrigation line, because, you know, I've already cut it once this year and I can't do that again. So now that I've got my holes are dug, they are prepped, they've got biotone in them. You may have noticed that I found the drip line irrigation. Slow and steady, you find it, slide it out of the way, you're good to go. I've got my 5 holes dug, so what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and dig them up. When you're digging perennials, the key is to get as much of the root system as you possibly can. The more roots you are able to transport, the happier the plant is going to be. So moving out my lighting wires, finding out where this guy is, and you're gonna go ahead and I say start out further. See, I'm moving it and it's not really getting too much of the plant. So that means I can go a little bit closer. Now we're getting somewhere. So dig and lift, and then come over, and you're gonna work your way around the plant doing that. Oh man. Whew. That was close, y'all. There was lighting wire right there. I didn't cut it though. See? It's a little booger-boo, man. That'll hide and get you in a heartbeat. That was close. All right, so she should be out of the ground. Keep as much of the roots as you can. Move them over. Make sure the plant is straight and upright, and then bring your soil back and then make sure and work in some of that amendments, the black gold. Make sure there's no little air pockets around the roots. You want these plants to be happy and in there. Pack the soil in. Pretty much, that's all she wrote. As always, remember when you're dealing with clay soil like what we have, we do not want to plant the plants too deep. Because these are transplants, I'm still going to have them basically where they were at soil level before. I'm going to have them there again. Do not plant them too deep, and do not put a bunch of native soil back on top of around the crown of the plant, because we do not want them to drown. So I'm just going to repeat that process 4 more times, and then I'm going to show you the next step. If you notice that when you're transplanting, that you have roots that are really long that stick out, you can either tuck them in your hole, or we've got such great amendments right here. I can just kind of lay them like this and then bring the soil back on top. So that is obviously a really important root for the plant, so we want to take care of that. Of course, when we get done with this, we will be having a nice thick layer of mulch on it, so that root will be very happy. But just know that when you have a thick root that's extra long, kind of important, take care of it. Okay friends, so the guaras have been moved to their new holes. You may have noticed that we did a little finagling. Sometimes you just have to do that, right? Maybe the holes are not placed exactly the same distance apart. What I ran into was twofold. One, there was one hole that was a little bit further away than the rest of them, and then I put the smallest plant in that hole, so then it made it look really weird. So we switched the smallest plant with the biggest plant, flip-flop their spaces, and move the hole over just a little bit. It's all about perspective and looking, right? You're not going to get it perfect the first time. There is no such thing as perfect. So you just make adjustments as you go along. These guys, girls, whatever, plants are nice and in the ground. They are very happy. The only other thing that I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to lay a nice thick layer of mulch all the way around them. Remember, mulch does a couple of things that we really love. One, it insulates the roots. So in the winter, keeps them a little warmer. Summer, keeps them a little cooler. It's like an insulating blanket, so that's why we love it. Two, it really helps on weeds. It really cuts down on the amount of weeds that you have in your flower beds. And if you do get weeds, they pull out relatively easy. It retains moisture. So again, these are drought-loving plants, or drought-tolerant plants rather, but they still need water. Plants need water, and watering is one of the biggest question marks in gardening. There is not an absolute rule that we can say you need to water them, 3 times a week for 10 minutes each. It depends on your climate. How hot, how humid is it? What is your soil like? What does the plant need? That's where gardening comes in, and you just have to go out there, get down on your hands and knees, inspect things. Are the plants happy? Are they struggling? And then you have to kind of become a little bit of a detective and figure out what works best for those plants in that situation. You can even have the exact same plant in different parts of your yard, and they require different amounts of water. It's that volatile, and you just have, like I said, you just got to get out there and figure it out. Once these girls get established, they'll be fine. So we're gonna get them mulched, get them happy. Another reason we like compost is as it breaks down, rather we like mulch because it turns into compost as it breaks down, which adds to your soil over time. So wonderful thing. So if you have an option of getting some mulch instead of say like pine needles or some other type of material, mulch is fantastic. Go for that every single time. We're going to get that out, and then I'm probably going to wait for the sun to go down just a little bit so I can show you the finished product, because when you're in the bright sun, the camera doesn't respond really well to that. So we're going to wait until we get some really pretty light later on this afternoon. We'll show you what they look like in their final place, and hopefully give you some drone shots of because the foliage around here is absolutely stunning. I loved it how one of our viewers said that the leaves are roaring. They are definitely roaring this year in all of their glory. So stay tuned and we'll show you what everything looks like. But as always, thanks so much for gardening with Creekside. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you next video. Bye, friends.